Welcome to our video, KB Race Team, sponsored by Project Image, Hardline Brewery, and we're doing it in the name of Macmillan Cancer Support to raise them some money. So this video is going to be showing what it's like to enter a stage race abroad, bit of travel, bit of getting ready for it, and then all the racing itself with day-by-day commentary. Andorra, baby!
800 meters. At the roundabout, take the second exit. I see possibilities up ahead.
So for us, it's about 1,000 miles from where I live in Hereford all the way to Andorra. Carl had an extra 500 miles to do in his wagon from Scotland. So here he is. And yeah, we're getting unloaded. We're getting sorted out and ready. There's our hotel room at Anyos Park, which was part of the bundle that we booked. You can see us getting all of our kit prepped up and then going out for a little orientation ride just to stretch the legs after 2 days of crazy travel. Just a word of warning, this is going to be a pretty long video, so it's going to show you the ins and outs of what it's like to do a stage race, what the terrain's like, what the general vibe and atmosphere is, how some of the setup of the event works, and just show you the whole thing really. For myself and Carl, it's a good way to see some footage back of what we did and share some great memories with all of you. Hello, we're Ben and Carl from KB Race Team. We've made it to Andorra. We've been travelling over the last couple of days. Carl's gone down from Aberdeenshire and met me over in Hereford, and then we've driven all the way across through France and into Andorra. As you can see, we've got these beautiful surroundings and we've just been for a nice little ride up into the woods. How you doing, Carl?
Really well, yeah, can't believe the weather, just perfect temperature, it's about 22.
Just getting a little bit dusty, and once we're in a fleet of, we think, probably about 700 riders, about 350 teams, then yeah, we could do with not being caught up in a dust bowl. But the accommodations worked out well, hasn't it?
Yeah, lovely accommodation, very, very nice.
So we're at the Anyos Park, so just round the corner really from where the main race village is. We'll show you the race village that they're literally building at the moment in a second.
Testing the bikes, all feeling good on the shakedown. Had to adjust all the pressures, interestingly. Tyre pressures have dropped quite a bit. Yeah, so we're getting it just shaken down and dialed in.
Yeah. I believe we were between 3,500 to 4,000 metres up. Normally we're what, like 100 metres above sea level or something. So it affects the way the air works with the bike. So we're kind of using today and tomorrow just to dial in the bikes. They're very similar bikes. We've both got the top tube bags, the flight attendant, all the power meter stuff. I guess we better get ourselves back to the event HQ.
Time for a coffee.
Time for a coffee, maybe a pizza or something for lunch.
Maybe
see what's
something
going on.
Carby, I know that.
Yeah. Right, see you in a bit. And when we got to the event village, they're still building some of that, getting it all prepared. We had a little walk around the town, acclimatised to the location, had a look in this Commencal store. Getting absolutely soaked. It's definitely mountainous weather that can change super quick. And yeah, it gets pretty wet, but also the sun comes back out, so you can go use the pool, spa facilities. There's the buffet, so that's the breakfast the next morning of sign-on. So loads of really good food there. We've got the bikes now prepped up. We've got all our sign-on packs, race numbers, and going into town to check out what's going on in the now bustly race village, where they had rider briefings, presentations explaining what was going to happen in terms of the races coming up. Having a little look around the start-finish line just to get a feel for where some of the things are, what support there is. There's full tech support pits. Obviously, it's paid for work, but if you had a problem, you could go and take your bike there. Fortunately, we're pretty well prepped, so not planning to use any of that. So there we are, bikes all set up, all looking super shiny, ready to go with our pairs of race numbers and the all-important camera so we can show you what's going on. Got kit all prepped up, and before you know it, all of that kit is going on. We're getting in the lift, we're grabbing the bikes, and it is time for a grueling day one. It is 7:48 in the morning, and here we are outside the Anyos Park. Here's Carlo, we're all geared up and we're ready to rock. We've just got the bikes prepped up in our little Pro Team car parking that we managed to sneak into down here. Got the S-Works with Carl's Hey. We're literally just going to ride down to the race village, get dropped off. We've got these little ripstop bags, so we get to leave those at the changeover station. So they're going to be ready for us at the start and end of the race. So we've got our new jackets on as well. Just take the morning chill off. So yeah, we're going to head down to the bottom, get set up, see how it all works, and get into the race. Okay, here we are. We're on the start line of Andorra Epic 2025.
Yeah, looking forward to the first stage race. All looking a bit manic at the moment as we all line up and squeeze into spaces.
Literally absolute chaos.
Yeah, feeling good. Yeah, spun the legs out, so good shape as I can be.
There's quite a nervous sort of tension and energy in this holding pen at the moment. And there we are at the start of stage 1, 43k, 1,625 metres of elevation, starting and ending in La Massana, doing a couple of loops off of that. Heck of a lot of climb. We kind of estimated what we were looking to try and get out of this ride. And yeah, it was just to kind of to really pace ourselves and see what happened. You've obviously got the absolute carnage of where you've been gridded, kind of based on wherever they think you are, if you've given them any data to rank where you are, kind of just filtering our way out of La Massana, like the town centre itself, and riding up into the hills. So a couple of road sections followed by mostly kind of gravel, mixed mud and rock kind of climb. Basically just getting steeper and steeper, starting to kick up and up. No real warm-up, just straight into the climb. You alright, buddy?
Yeah, good.
I'm sweating it out.
Yeah.
Woo. It's you start today literally straight up with a climb. Garmin says 1,735 feet. I reckon the first climb's about 3,000 feet. So no real warm-up, just working out how to gauge yourself for your own effort within this pack. So there we are, kicking straight into this first monster climb. Absolutely no idea really quite how to pace ourselves or quite what this climb is going to feel like. We simply don't have quite this amount of elevation in the UK, despite our best efforts to train in like Scotland, in Wales, all of that. You just don't have this level of incline. Obviously all these packs just starting to leave pairs of riders. Everyone has to be paired in this race, and gradually getting to the top. Complete chaos as people try and work out their own pace and try not to, as I'm terrible at, get caught up in trying to fight other people's battles and tag on to other pairs and other people to see what's going on. Really cool now, we're starting to get into a bit of the World Cup track. So this turned up on the Andorra round this year, so I think it was a week later. So you had like the specialised team wagons and all of that turning up ready for that, and I think the downhill was there as well. So some of this was featured in the World Cup and other bits you could see at the side, but it was quite cool kind of going around some of this and just getting a feel for the terrain. You never really know when you watch it on TV quite how steep it is, and when you think, oh, that looks slow, you're like, no, actually there's quite a kick on that, and it's quite technical. Even a bit of pump track. I think we saw Christopher Blevins sessioning that on his Instagram. So yeah, again, pretty cool just to ride somewhere where you're seeing like your professional riders and idols like riding around. Obviously diverting off of that track onto, you know, a much longer marathon style course that doesn't lap, obviously. So yeah, that is the race village for the World Cup. Really cool. Do you think you're going to flow into a descent straight into a climb again? I think this was featured in the loops of the Andorra World Cup a week or so later. This is a heck of a kick. Again, this is one of those points where all those riders that have been bunched up had started to separate, and then it all gets caught up again on some of the climbs, with faster and slower rides all meeting up, then into a feed station. So one of the couple of places that you can grab fresh water and supplies.
Just had a feed stop, filled a water bottle up, chucked a tablet in. 3,000 foot in about an hour and 20.
Getting back into a bit more technical riding now, so it's starting to kind of descend and traverse along this rocky hillside. We must admit this started to become quite frustrating. We've done a lot of our training on places like Afan, where it is like rocky single track. It's very narrow. You've got to really place your wheels properly. We've got all these backlogs with some rides that just can't handle this technical kind of descent, and like boom, there we go, straight down there, no problem at all, straight into a backlog of riders that's pushing through the sections. So like, I guess your inability to get past some riders on a hill climb where maybe they're natural climbers really disadvantages us as quite technical rides, and having a lot of this terrain in the UK. We're not like roadies that are riding an XC race. We're mountain bikers that that can ride all of this sort of stuff. So straight down features that people have just got off and slowed us down, pushing down. So yeah, as soon as you get into some of this, we're like, all right, better try and get past some of these people, because if this gets technical again, we don't want to be losing time. So yeah, boom, let's just burn a few matches, put the power down on this gravel, and take a high line and just try and get the hell out of there. Really getting caught behind some people like that, where they can't ride any technical features, can really impact your race, because you can lose, you know, minutes at a time, and that really adds up if that happens a lot of times. You expect it at the start, but it's really annoying when part of the course that's playing to your strengths is then something that you don't get to fully benefit from. But on the climbs, most of the climbs are open enough that you're not hindering other people. This is just like riding in like South Wales and Scotland when you look at some of this terrain, and then yeah, just wide open, beautiful gravel, beautiful terrain, losing a hell of a lot of inclination on gravel, but it's absolutely beautiful. You can see we're sprinting there to try and just literally get as fast down that as possible, because you sure as hell know there's going to be an insane climb coming back up, because this, we know, loops back up to the top of the chairlift area that we just saw. So here we go, we've descended, we've caught back onto a bunch of people that are probably going to drop us on the climb. Unfortunately, it's just how it is. Some of these people are incredible. Into a bit of hiker bike now. So there are some bits that they're literally a sign saying, do not try and ride this, you cannot ride this. I would very much agree, despite being a reasonably technical rider, you're not going to ride a mountain bike, even an e-bike, over some of this terrain. So it is just pick up and grab. Again, cause a bit of bunching, so it's another reshuffle of the pack, for better or worse. It's frustrating, because in these bits where you just drop people on that gravel, now they're just, you know, you're at the bottom of the mountain, you're about to have the climbers just go back past you and slow you down on the descents again. But here we go, kind of just getting to the end of that section. I remember being extremely pleased to get back on the bike after carrying it. I hate hiker bike.
Slippy.
Getting back into some slippy climbing, and then yeah, back into an absolutely scorching hill climb.
Course is really starting to dig in now. Been going for about 2 hours 40 minutes. Done 4,500 foot of climbing over 18 miles, and we're more than halfway. And also, we're way more than halfway of the climbing. There will be a really huge descent that will hopefully clock up some good mileage back down towards the end of today's course. I'd say today is like an average length one. Stage 3 out of 4 will be the really, really long one, just when you're getting really tired as well. But anyway, yeah, right up here, just climbed up from the very bottom of that. After that ripping technical then gravel descent, Carl's just a few meters behind me. Both of us suffering, being Brits who are not quite acclimatised to this heat and altitude, but we're both doing well, both feeling good.
So heading up this brutally long hill climb, I'm just doing a quick refuel at the feed station. So already got my bottles open, dump them on the ground, chuck a couple of tablets in there. They just come around with jugs. There's literally trays of like Haribo and potato crisps and like all sorts of things you can munch. And I think at one point one of them just like grabbed like a handful of Haribo while doing up my bottles. Nommed on that, and then yeah, just straight back into more climbing, getting a bit more technical again. But we know at this point we're pretty much at the top. So and you can see the chairlift there for one of the parts of this, otherwise like a ski resort. Kind of was this like a sort of double track bike park sort of section. Quite hard to pass people on some of this because you don't want to do something too aggressive, but you can see how much that's holding up because I've just literally unleashed in chase of Carl, who just had the right line to whip past that guy there. So yeah, another example of how like one or two riders can just change your race, because we're just quite fast at this sort of thing, really, like just gradually reshuffling our pack there. Again, trying to play to our strength, ready for the descent. Any benefit we can get by putting in a bit of a charge on a hill climb might mean that we have a really smooth ride down a downhill section. So it's really worth kind of, if you've got someone you're not sure about their ability, like just get past them, because it's that bit of extra effort that you burn is probably going to be well worth it. But some of this is really hard to pass on. You don't want to be too aggressive, but you're also racing your race, so within the rules you've kind of got to get past a bit. It's not a place to be too timid, but you're not going to knock anyone off on purpose either. So yeah, whip past this guy. We're literally at the very top, I believe now, and it's time to descend all the way back down to Race Village at river level, so literally to the bottom of where we started our monster, I think like 3,000 foot climb that we did first thing this morning. This kind of S-bend section was definitely in the World Cup as well, so again, really cool to be riding something that you're seeing the pros ride. It's obviously not difficult or technical, but you just see them go down at 1,000,000 miles an hour, all of the legends. So there we are, riding a little bit of hallowed ground. Now we're beginning what I think is called the Commencal Flow. So Commencal Bikes have got their HQ down the bottom. We went down there and had a drink the day before the race, and had a look at their really cool kind of brand like home store. This is the Commencal Descent, I believe, and it's like super fast, flowy. I can't remember if they called it a blue or red grade descent, but it just went on forever. This is a really abridged version of it, and then it kind of goes into back alleys and little mud sections that kind of go between like a village that's part way up into these kind of like slightly loose chutes. At this point it felt like we were in our own little race, like we'd sort of got past some of the slower people. We hadn't been quick enough for people that were super good at everything, so we're just somewhere in the middle on our own. But it's quite good because we didn't have any altercations or kind of hold-ups with people on this. And as you can see, there's like boulders, there's like rocky ledges there, like you don't really want to get completely held up on it. With other riders, sometimes it's better to go at your own pace rather than getting buffeted back. Then we're down by the river where we did our warm-up ride, but coming down it the other way and literally flying to, like, we know we've got like half a mile left, so let's just get back in one piece and kind of spin the legs out on the way back through. It's very exciting when you know you're there and then you're on to the finish line for the first time on the first day, and you've realised roughly what a day is. So that was day one.
Baby racing from Great Britain. Ben Jordan, well done boys. Welcome back, welcome home.
And that's us back down. We came in 3 hours 21 58 seconds. That's not too bad.
8 minutes earlier than we said.
It is. I think the pros were meant to be in at 12 o'clock, 12:15. We're 12:25. It's really good.
And Diego Reyes.
It was really nice for us to get back in time to see a couple of award ceremonies for the pros, get the bikes washed off by the team with the jet washers, just have a little rest on one of the sun lounges there and have a drink, have a look around the site. You can see bikes starting to turn up on the rails, but still looking remarkably not full, so that means we've probably made an okay time. Loads and loads of really nice bikes there. Quick ride back to our accommodation, chance to see some professional photos, have a little bit of time in the spa to relax, have a load of food and try and rest ready for the next day. Strava stats just completely mad. 26 mile, a bit over 3 hours, a bit over 5,000 foot of elevation. Good time for us to try and rest up, ready for what's going to be a tough day too.
Oh my god, that's it. That's just it. And that's it, we just get in. That's it. Okay. Hello everyone, welcome to race day 2. Yeah. Starts off with just jumping straight on an uplift. That definitely doesn't mean there's not going to be a hell of a lot of climbing going on today, but we do start from a lot higher up, so we get a bit more descending than climbing by about 1,500 foot's worth, I believe.
Anyway, you just see the bikes go on the carrier.
Old new. I don't think I've been in one of these for at least 40 years. So.
No, and I don't think I've skied for about 20 years. But when it's someone else's skis, you don't care as much. Whereas we've got he's just sitting there, and he's just sitting there. But yeah, cool. Well, we'll see you at the top.
So while you're all enjoying the view, then we climbed up this yesterday, so it's quite nice to get the lift up today. Although, as Ben said, we already have a lot of climbing to do once we get up there.
Yeah, but we, I mean, this whole hill is what we just wound up and up and up, and then also we did as one complete descent. So the way back down was
Exciting.
Was literally in one hit, and it must be the longest descent I've ever done.
For sure. It brought a whole new meaning to arm pump.
Yeah, definitely. The arm pump was unreal. God, the sun behind us is insane. With your bike just bouncing around on the back.
Oh, what's that meant? I do want to look back.
Yeah, we cycled through here because this is where we went over the bridges.
Yeah.
We did cycle then straight up that hill on the other side, which is crazy.
Where'd you look at it?
There we go. Thanks, dudes. Cheers, man. There we go. So yeah, it was pretty wild going up on the chairlift. That was a new one for me, and just had a little chance to ride around, warm up at the top. It was absolutely beautiful, although a bit cold. Grabbed a coffee and then got taken to our starting box, where we'd moved up, I think, by 2 boxes, so you can see the start line there. So we really weren't too far behind, although they did a time difference to give the pros a bit of a head start, which they did not need to get away from us. But yeah, really nice to start the day by appearing at the top of a huge climb.
Go, buddy. With the start of stage 2, gridded in box D, so we've moved up on the start line and ready to begin in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, so they sure do like some completely over-dramatic music at the start, but it definitely creates a bit of a vibe when you're lining up and adrenaline's high. Going to stage 2, you've got 46k, 1,300 metres up with 1950 metres down. So that doesn't mean you haven't got a fair whack of climbing, you've just got even more descending, which we'll see how that goes in a second. So start line, someone decided to try and trip up in front of me there, but yeah, it's normal hectic nature at the start. As we start to head off. Definitely, I don't think you'd hear it on the video, but when we get into this bit down the bottom, I have like the hugest rock that comes up straight in my down tube. Bike was fine, but I didn't even dare look at it for the rest of the race. When I got home, it had like properly cracked the paint on my down tube, which is now covered with a rubber protector. Was totally worried I'd broken my frame, but it's definitely not gone through the carbon, so that's good. I'm straight into an absolutely evil climb, but good opportunity to try and just hop a few places. So at that point, you pretty much moved up a whole pod if you can hang on to that, but that is one heck of a first climb. So I think we started to drop back from that, because I think, in fairness, Carl just said we don't explode. He was really good for keeping me in check with that a little bit. Going from the top of the climb now is just a typical pinch point as people start to, well, they've got to get through a one bike wide thing and then straight into a descent, which is quite fun, like another flowing bike park one from the top of the mountain where the World Cup was. So I don't know if any of this is part of that stage or not, but really nice flowing descents. Quite a crazy way to really start the day, because you're not particularly warmed up, you've gone straight into a ballistic climb and then you're just starting to flow down descent. Again, starting to get that frustration of like a few people where you can't really get past, and this is really in that bit where a race likes to shuffle at the start. We're still only like 10 or 15 minutes in, and everyone's still finding their place in the race. The climbers have obviously had a good start to the race, and maybe the technical bits here are then going to buffer things again. So it's probably not the most simple way of like spreading out a race, but it's definitely a good challenge. Then we ended up on like a really long road climb where for once we had a chance just to soak in the beauty of the area around us.
Absolute roaster for us today, Carl.
Oh boy, leaking like a sieve.
She just keeps on going up and up after a technical start section at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, so absolutely incredible terrain. This is what would be, I guess, like an amazing road biking pass that you could do. For us, it was just, I guess, a chance to kind of just get ourselves warmed up really before we went into this descent. Now, this is one that they told us at the briefing was like a famously incredible Andorran descent. At this point, the terrain starts to resemble, like, I don't know, some kind of moorland type thing. I've definitely seen this kind of thing in Wales, in Yorkshire, Peak District. It's got that kind of vibe to it, so it didn't seem particularly unusual, although it was definitely hotter and just even more beautiful. Definitely chunky and rocky, so it was not without its technical challenges, but also had quite a lot of mud and slop going on, so it was really quite an interesting test of skills and character. Pretty much there's only one route down most of this, so it's quite a narrow kind of bit with rocks littering the sides. You can't do too much overtaking. I think unfortunately, like, because of the nature of that long road climb, we had some of the pure climbers ahead of us, but it did make things a little bit more treacherous on the way down. As you can see, like, it's all kind of bunched up in front. I think this is me leading at this point, and you've got like guys really not happy about like cambers and turns on this, and really there's nothing wrong with that at all. And yeah, he's kind of gone down, so it makes it all quite nervous for us following people down through it. Whereas I feel like this would probably been a bit quicker if we'd had an open way, but that's just how racing goes. But it is quite difficult at times. Like, again, bit of mud, bit of slop. I don't know why they don't want to carry a bit of speed through there. They've like braked into the descent, and then we buffer up, and then you start to ride like quite tight because you don't know what's going on in front. Again, absolutely nowhere to pass here. All the ground to the side, trust me, is completely divoted out with big holes and sort of things that catch you off guard. And obviously we're riding, to be fair, as with everyone, this completely blind. You've got a bit of a pit there, and it's like, can you let us go round? No, we're not going to let you go round. You're not on the bike properly at this point. You're not clipped in, so you're messing up the way you're going down it, or just jumping off and walking it. Like, yeah, there we go. Like I have there, because why would you risk riding it when you're going to gain no time on the person in front? Like, this is sloppy and skitterish as hell, but you can just see a whole pack of riders like walking it there. And had we had a clean run in, that probably would have been something that you would just hold on for dear life and ride through, and it would be okay. By this point, you're like completely off balance with the whole thing. It's quite a strange descent, really. It's definitely not what I had in mind for like a rip-roaring, classic, amazing descent, but it was definitely challenging, like in very different ways to some of the other terrain that we see over the course of the 4 days. This is stuff where we would normally just be able to let off the brakes and let the bike take it, and it's a far safer way to ride it. Getting towards, I think, the bottom of this section now, again, they're just like, we're going to jump off, we're not going to ride this, but absolutely no sign of like, hey, there's riders behind that will go round this. I mean, Carl's entered that so close to them really that he didn't stand a chance in terms of being poised for that. So yeah, tough to know how to take it really. Like, do you hold back and create more of a buffer but so you can ride things, like, or do you just concede and just walk down behind people? Coming back down to this little selection of like farm outbuildings that we'd been down to on the previous day, loads of cows out the field, which is like in this stunning bottom of a valley basin. So same climb as on day one. So yeah, I think we will probably skip most of that because we know that that's just horrific and doesn't play to our strengths. But like, we got up there pretty well. You got a feed station still in there, so yeah, definitely we've been going for a fair while now. Time to just refuel, have a quick snack, get ready to go into the next bit. I think we did look at the plot of how we were going to do some of these stops, as in we think this is what fluids we're going to have used. You know, we weren't really too fussed about eating, so we had like gels and chews and stuff with us, but I think we worked out we could skip some feed zones if we got it right, straight into like these steep. I think it looks steep on camera, so it must be really steep because steepness never looks steep on camera. That is a super steep climb. We had done it on the previous day, so we knew what was going to happen there. So yeah, continuing down the next descent, this is like a big whopper that goes down to the bottom. It's rocky, it's a bit muddy, it's again like feels very sort of regular Welsh sort of thing really. We've got some riders here that I don't know why they're unable to get down through that, but also will just not concede a place, will not pull over and let faster riders through. It's literally in the rules. I think by this point I was starting to get pretty annoyed. I know Carl's just been like, pass that guy. Like, I can't pass the guy because he literally won't let me out of the way. It's really tough because this is mostly single track, and to be fair, on the bits where it's wider, it's pretty difficult to pass because you're going offline, you're going down some there's like all sorts of rocks and roots, and just generally it's not easy terrain. And you can see there's lots of riders either waiting for their partners or with mechanicals. Yeah, definitely more riders though on this stage, like struggling with the technical natures of some of it. This was like a descent that would catch people out for sure, and yeah, not loads in the way of passing places, so the bottleneck thing, even with a couple of riders, could get quite frustrating. What this really gets me thinking about is the fact that this race is really rock hard. It's always really hard to convey that on video clips, but when watching this back, you've really got to remember some of this is really pushing what some people are going to think of as cross-country riding. This is a marathon race. It's something where if you went back to the 90s, you'd be basically doing what a modern gravel race is now. So when you've got bits like this, like the jumping off, because they maybe haven't seen a feature like that. So at the time, it was extremely frustrating to be in the situation of being stuck with them. And yes, it would have been nice if they just let you pass a bit earlier so you could have your own space in the race. However, this is super tough, some of it, and we'll see that on some of the later stages. People are a bit out their depth. So if you're looking at this, wondering if you want to do cross-country marathon like this, it's definitely worth considering what you're going to do as your training plan. And that doesn't mean just being super fit, super healthy and getting absolutely ripped for the climbs, but it's doing all-round training. So where I think I've touched on that we're probably suffering with some of the ability to be a pure climber, which is a really important part of this race because there is just a huge amount of ascent to deal with. But at least we've really rounded off what we're doing with technical riding. So when we're going out, we're in somewhere like Afan, where you've got not only technical climbs that go on for a long time, for anything in the UK at least, but you've also got all of the descents where you're going on rocky single track, you've got drop-offs, you've got jumps, you've got very loose uneven surfaces, cambers and everything like that. So we are making sure we're mega prepared for that. And if you're looking at doing a race like this, it'd probably be well worth making sure that you're really brushing up on the technical, because I was absolutely staggered at how hard some of this was. It's strange to say that while we're watching a bit of gravel now, but really on reflection of the stage today, we had an advantage on some of that because it was still in a comfortable pocket. So I think it's really important looking at this, and definitely when you get to some of the stuff on stage 3 and 4, there's super steep technical descents that would rival some black runs and off-piste runs. It's definitely worth making sure that you're ready for anything the race is going to throw, and that's not just legs and lungs, but that is upper body strength and the ability to descend and balance and handle rocks and technical terrain as well. Again, this is just starting to look like normal Welsh trails and kind of like loamy, like maybe even Forest of Dean sort of ones near where I live. It seems pretty comfortable, but unfortunately, again, we're not really given a chance to let rip on some of this stuff. And it's really good, like for a cross-country race, it's a really good mix of terrain. Like it's got a bit of something from everyone: rock, slop, like big gravel stuff, like tight technical, like woodsy sort of stuff. Definitely some rooty cambers. I would say, in fairness, that is quite a horrible camber for that guy to ride. Snaps. So we made a point of like being ready for anything, and that meant that skills wise, like we were ready to do most of this sort of stuff with confidence. That is like a death drop off the side of a tiny little wooden thing. Like, I can appreciate some people aren't going to be wanting to ride very fast down that. And totally different terrain to what we had 10 minutes ago. Someone's dropped a bottle. That's going to really hurt when they realise that they don't have any fluids. One guy almost overshoot the corner coming up. Yeah, I'd say so. That just looks steep as hell looking in the back. I don't remember this bit particularly, but that looks like super steep. So again, fair play to the guy for jumping off. Like, no one seems particularly happy at climbing up that. That is a steep as hell kind of paved climb. At this point, I think I recognise those guys in front from ones that have stitched us up before. So due to the climbing nature of some of this, they've just jumped back on. These guys can like seriously climb. His teammate in front that seems to be pulling away. There's only so far you can push yourself. Feed stopped there. I think it's quite close to the end of the stage, so we just absolutely didn't need that. Having more water from the start seemed to work well for us, taking 2 full bottles out, and then you don't maybe need to stop as many times. That guy has gone the wrong way. Now we're getting back down towards the town that we start at, and we seem to have jumped onto the back of a I think they were like a winning like women's, like not pro but like women's amateur team there. They've been doing really well. So I think despite that, for me personally, having a stage that felt like it was a bit of a howler in terms of just sheer frustration, we have actually done all right. You can see that they've coned off like a little strip at the side for us to go down, and then at this point you're just happy to get to the start finish straight, and it's like, yeah, we'll bring it in together. That is the end of what has been a very difficult day that has not been quite exactly what we wanted.
Another stage bites the dust, baby.
That's the end of a really, really tough day. Good chance now just to reflect on it, try and work out what we can do better, what went right, what went wrong. Have a look at some of the pictures of some of the beautiful scenery that we've seen throughout the day. Get some good food back in us. Have a couple of treats as well to try and soothe ourselves. Get a bit of time in the spa and just relax. And have a review of the Strava plots, which for that day have been still pretty grueling. About 28 miles, bit over 3 hours, bit over 4,000 foot. Solid day, and one that we can learn a lot from as we push forward into Andorra Epic Day 3.
Yeah, we're down at the race village for round 3. We've just been on a bus that's taken us out to the stage. Absolute chaos everywhere.
Mega day out today.
Mega day out today, yeah. Just checked over the bikes after they've been on the... I don't know how they got them here. I don't even want to think about it really. But they're here. We're going to be getting into the starting pens over there in a bit. We're in Group D again. It's a long stage today. In English, it's about 40 miles, 7,500 foot, something like that. And we're already a little bit used and abused.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've got plenty of mileage in the legs now. Yeah, definitely feeling it.
Yeah, so yeah, just got to hang on for dear life and try not to burn ourselves out too early. So yeah, we'll see you on the start line.
So here we are lining up in the starting box of stage 3, and this time starting at Canelo. So we've transferred there on a coach on the way out. We're standing in that box waiting to go. Really cool, so you can see the start line up ahead. So we've got a huge stage, 63k, 2,390 metres up, with 2,700 metres of descending, and we're kind of going up and down, but mainly a huge up, huge descent, up a bit, up and down, and here we go off at the start line.
All together. Come on, boys and girls. See you last summer.
So So as usual with one of these, you've got the chaos of the start line just starting to have riders separate, bunch up, and then we just go into this super long, it's like about 6 miles, maybe 5 or 6 miles of outstretched road climb that just gradually winds up and up before we get into any single track, and we just felt terrible, mainly me. I had a really bad stomach. I had a bug or something funny with my food going on. I'd have to really back off of nutrition, which is a terrible way to have to start a huge race. It just felt like we were going backwards, like trying to hang on to these groups basically on the road. You'd put in a bit of effort and just feel empty, and you can just see us getting dropped from that group as we go towards the mountains. Obviously that we just feel like we've dropped like back 100 places from where we started off in the box, which is really tough. And then you just get to the single track. We've come down the valley to the right on the road, and now looping back along this single track before we climb further, and it's all just bunched up. It's put us in a really bad position, but it's just chaos. Like, there's just, I suppose you could argue, there's kind of too many riders to get through the space that there is. So you're kind of like, maybe I could have gone harder on the road because I've got all this time to recover. You're just sitting there twiddling thumbs. There's no way through. People are getting annoyed, and and then it's getting kind of technical, and some people are okay with it, some people are not okay with it. It's quite a strange bit of trail, really, but it was really tough for us, just an outstretched road climb. And then we just get into this that looks mega steep on camera, and you can just see the chairlifts going off up to the top. That is just so steep, and it just goes on and on and on for what seems like forever, just grinding away at it, really. I suppose you could say that we kind of found our place with it and just accepted the kind of output that we both had. But I think at this point, Carl was definitely kind of dragging me through, whereas typically I might be leading on some of the climbs, but not today. So fair play. He's kind of dragging me through on that, and this is like mega steep. We're just like melting up as we're going right up to that top mountain sort of level, and it just keeps on going.
Still pushing like 400 watts. We've done over 1,000 foot in the last 15 minutes. Absolutely mangled.
And yeah, just absolutely brutal. We had been going for so long. Now you get to chairlift level and you're like, cool, that's probably the bulk of the climb. But I think that was just a climb that's called Soldo, which is up to feed station 1. And I think in your head, you're like, we've done the majority of the day. But in reality, by the time you go up and down a little bit, you've actually got a whole lot more. So little chance just to resupply here. Lovely bit of watermelon there, and we're both kind of just done with a bit of a resupply, sorting out what's going on with bottles, and just grabbing kind of random stuff and throwing it down the throat just to try and get any nutrients back in, because your body is just screaming at you. And at this point, I've just not had anywhere near enough breakfast to fuel up for it, because honestly, just the fear of it coming straight back out the very wrong way. So horrible way to enter a stage when you know it's the longest, hardest one. But then we just climb and climb some more out onto some sort of outstretched single track. You can see riders just gradually going up and up, and at least a chance to take in some incredible mountain views there. Like, absolutely stunning. I think in the moment of how brutal it is, your body's just too angry with you. But looking back at that has got like adventure gravel all over. Now we're descending down that, you can see something snaking up the other side of that mountain on the other side. At this point, you do not realise that you're going to be going straight up that climb on the other side. So this is obviously part of a ski resort, and we're by no means at the top of the mountain. And yeah, you think, cool, we're up, we're flowing, and then it just goes like nigh on vertical again in a bit, trying to use all the momentum you've got to get as far as you can, right back up to the top again. I think that's potentially another one of the feed stops that you kind of loop through. It's just a really basic one that's just water, no mechanic, no major food or anything like that. So I think that's the top of Tossa de Losada at 2,560 meters up. Again, just winding a little bit of single track that's been cut. You've got animals grazing up here. You've still got chairlifts that are going up, and you really realise that you're just bouncing from peak to peak. But yeah, just all of the momentum you've got. You can see how well that's worked for us there. Some people are grinding up that hill, whereas I think an extra bit of a sprint into the basin of that has really, really helped, like slingshot you up that hill. So good bit of tactics there. And the view is just stunning. Like I say, your body's just screaming at you because this is just more than you've ever done in any volume session or can emulate back at home training. We just don't have time, or I certainly in a normal working man's job have the ability to acclimatise this sort of thing or do it at all often. This is like a once in a lifetime adventure race as far as I'm concerned. Carl's done a few more bits like this.
Right, we're just about 3 hours in, 5,000 foot of climbing out of about 7,000, about 19 miles in, out of about 40. We're all the way up, right at the top, almost in the clouds, getting ready, hopefully, finally, for a big long descent. Carl's hanging on back there. But both of us severely suffering today on what is the hardest stage of the four.
And then you go back ripping down some more extreme mountain gravel. I guess this would normally be a ski slope. You can see it's got all of the netting at the side to stop people going off the edge of that, and you've got little button lifts that would traverse and take you up the sides of that. And it is incredible. Andorra just has such a variety of terrain. You do gravel racing up here, you can do mountain biking, just got all of the elements of all these things, like wide open moorland type open stuff. This is like bike park style sections, and then you've got extreme technical sort of stuff as well really thrown in. So it's got a bit of something, and you just can't take your eyes off the trail because there's always some sort of feature. Like on this, there's little jump. So nice having something fast and flowy like this after you've climbed for so long. And now, of course, you become aware that you really are probably going to be at the top of the descent. It's known as Mont Magique. And of course, you are with some riders here that are like super good climbers, but we are aware that we are generally shining when it comes to descending, and that's where we're making up time. So just trying to really get back on it now. But of course, realizing that you're going to blow up because you've got, I think it's about 1,500 meters of descending to do in one hit here, I think, which is like more than you can do. You can't go to Bike Park Wales and do that. Like this is like a super mega descent. And yeah, it's even stuff like this, it doesn't look super technical, but it's all got loose rock, it's all got loose stones. You're always worried, well, what if I puncture up here? Like there's no tech station, there's, you know, if you really slash a tire, there's no way out. So you're kind of towing the line between going wild on it, but also you're on a skinny little XC bike. You're not on a enduro or even trail bike. You're running lightweight carcass tires, really. So you've got to be slightly sensible with where you go, and you're only running, in the case of our bikes, like 120 mil travel. Some people here are running less. Cheers to that guy for letting us pass. A lot of people here where you've got mismatches between partners and their ability to descend, where they're having to wait up. Awesome descent this though. I mean, it's literally like some kind of like dream bike park type single track. As we go through it, you get into much steeper, more techie sort of stuff that you know, could in some places resemble like black grade mountain bike trails in the UK as well. So yeah, diving in between the trees here, just really flowing, just trying to keep impact to the body down as much as possible, reserving as much energy as possible, trying to stay off the brakes and just flow and let the bike do the work and let the body try and recover, because you know that some of this is going to become grueling. But yeah, totally in our element here. This is literally like everything we've been training for, but easier in terms of descent so far. It's just flowing. It's really good fun. But you're just looking at like the view beyond in all the little gaps, and you realise how high up you are, and you're wondering how far we're going to drop before we climb again. But you've seen the elevation plot, and it is just brutally long. So but it's not something that we've ever been able to prepare for, really. Like, it's not a length of descent that as a UK rider I've been able to do. And of course now, because we're descending fairly rapidly, we're starting to catch up people. This guy's got his feet off all over the place. I wish I followed Carl down that. He was, sometimes if I was leading, he'd be able to go, oh, okay, there's an alternative way there, like, because I'm like closer to the guy in front, and he's seen that I've kind of we're both like going a certain pace, and he can take an alternative line, and all over the back of this guy. And I think it takes quite a long time to go past, and it's not a good place for trying to do any ridiculous maneuvers, because ultimately someone can end up in a tree or in the bushes or falling down an embankment. So there's definitely an element of like, everyone's in this together. You want to make up time where you can. There we go, he's let me pass, that's really cool. But then it's just like, here's the next batch of riders to get by. I'd say this was probably a less frustrating stage than the previous one, because some of this was pretty techie, and also, you know, for the same reasons I've just said, like, we're getting fatigued going down, and we're pretty good descenders. So some of the people here will literally, this is really pushing their limits. Most of this descent is pushing their limits. It's tough. Like, the rules of the racing are like, you're meant to give way to faster riders, and there are places like this little clearing here where people could, but they're like, no, I'm going to run down it. And of course we just hop on, and you know, and it's fine, but you can't flow through there, so you're having to stop, which, as with the frustrations of the previous day, then you're riding quite tight because you are not poised and balanced and flowing when you enter something skitterish. Like, that's definitely not a pleasant corner that Carl's going around there. It's rooty. This does look fairly steep on camera. Again, for like cross-country marathon, this is fairly steep. It's worth remembering that this isn't a 4-mile XCO race that's got a few cool features like you see in the UCI events. This is a, what did I say it was? A 63-kilometre ride, so like, what's that, 38 or 40 miles or something. This is a big, long, outstretched, you know, long ride. So yeah, not a place to be doing anything too silly. But gradually making our way down it, you've got some kind of like, what's that, like a livestock barrier, or I don't know if it's a counter type thing or some security bar. I really don't know, but I definitely got like whipped across the body with it, which was a bit surprising. Completely stuck behind someone here. There we go, let me pass, that's nice. Yep, let's flow down that. Someone's lost their partner there, so they're waiting up, and you can see how much descent is left. It's absolutely wild. I would not have wanted to touch my disc brake rotors because they would have been absolutely burning. Something worth mentioning as well, now we get onto like a slightly more chill part of this. There are some riders that at the meal at the end, I heard them talking in the restaurant about it, and they were definitely behind our pace on the climb. And we were aware that every day, really, we needed to get in. We probably had about a 45 minute to an hour window each day until almost like tropical storm kind of would come in every day. Like, there'd always be a rainstorm on our way home from the stage after we'd had a bit of food and ridden back. So there were riders that had climbed this, and at the top the storm was starting, and apparently that whole descent just turned into like a waterfall type, like a river, so they weren't allowed to do the descent that way. So some people didn't get to complete the stage in a standard way or get their completion, I think, on like a, you know, in the timing sort of system quite right, because they didn't do the actual stage. It was too dangerous. So we were probably from the way we entered into this, just really happy to be racing everything properly, to be ahead of that weather. and to be able to do ourselves proud. Really good to be able to get to a feed stop there. You just that's number 3 down at Canillo, so basically where we started, but after that huge monster loop, and then we're just climbing up towards the Col d'Ordino or Col d'Estal, another 2,000 metre bit. We're not going from quite all the way down, kind of abridged the ending of this a little bit, but we've climbed like a hell of a way. I'm out of food, like, you know, proper energy gel, so Carl was handy enough to have a spare chew, like one of his gigantic sports nutrition ones, so I had one of those off him. That was really handy, because I was like, please help, I am absolutely a shell of a man. And now getting into some single track that's just really fun. You've got a few cameras there flashing at us, somewhere we've got the photos that they send you of all of that, and we're just getting into this descent. I think the T section of the day is called the Bechalis Flow, which is a mixture of single track and gravel. And again, this is another bit where you're just waiting to slash a tyre. Some of those rocks are huge on those bends, and you just really don't want to be puncturing on this. So again, another solid day. You can see that rain that I'm talking about. Some people up the top of the mountain, when that's come in, it's wet for us down at bottom. A few dots starting to appear on the end of the camera, but we're well happy just to get that stage over and done. Absolutely grueling, hardest day of mountain biking probably we'll ever do, definitely at some sort of race pace, and especially on a dodgy tummy and with poor nutrition. So yeah, mega proud of both of us for just slogging through that against our own adversity, really. So yeah, and then just apprehension ready for recovery for stage 4. So there we go. That was stage 3, absolute monster, but proud to have done it.
Day 3, what do you reckon?
A brutal stage. Never done so much climbing in my life.
No, I think the intensity of that was anything we've trained for. It's just kind of knocked it up
On
a
steroids.
level in terms of like race pace and just
No stopping.
no coffee stop for Carl.
No coffee stop.
Yeah, well, we made it through. Time to recover, ready for the final stage tomorrow.
Yeah, major recovery needed now for the last big push.
More time to reflect on what is probably one of the hardest days of mountain biking I may ever do. It's definitely where the multi-day stage race thing really starts to dig in. We're really happy to be doing pretty well and getting through that. But yeah, absolutely nuked. Again, time for some treats, get some food back in the body, reflect on what's happened, and again, have a look at that Strava plot. That is just absolutely bonkers numbers to be going as hard as you can at race pace, especially when you're not feeling well. About 38 mile, 5 hour, 7,200 foot. Time to recover.
Good morning. We're back for race day number 4. We're at the top of Natsjeland. I say we're at the top. We've already climbed a heck of a long way in a coach, but we're still looking up at the mountains. So we've got a fair way up at the start of the stage today, and
Last stage today, so it's all to go for.
we're both feeling pretty tired now.
Getting the
In the
finish.
old, the legs are feeling a bit tight and a bit battered. But yeah, we're going to give it everything we've got in the last stage.
Bring it home.
And just see what happens, really. Yeah, but it's been an interesting and challenging experience.
Yep.
And we'll bring it home. And looking forward to getting to today's stage.
An amazing location. It's just an amazing location to be doing this event.
So here we are finally on the last day at Natsjeland, stage 4 of Andorra Epic 2025. Lots of apprehension, but also the kind of relief of being at the end of what has been a grueling so far 3 days. So a chance to just unleash any last energy in the tank and see what happens. This time the boxes are being let off in a slightly different way, so you can see they're kind of bringing the grid forward to the line and then setting off smaller packs of maybe 20 or 30 riders per box. So R1's just approaching the line ready to start. The Natsjeland stage is some sort of like nature retreat kind of area with mountain bike trails up in the hills. So again, slightly different, and it's an out and back rather than a loop. This time 52k, 1,250 meters up, 1,580 meters down, basically doing a big old up and down loop of a bike park, and then heading all the way down basically to river level, then following the river back to the start finish line for celebrations. And there we go, everyone's off. It really feels like it's a quite different box to be coming out of with this one. Definitely less congested, and you're just onto this road that's going to fan everyone out a little bit across the pack. This went on for quite a long time, so I've cut out a lot of kind of boring climbing there.
Very frustrating part of the day would be the push-up of the rideable climb, but everyone's in the same thing, so I guess it doesn't really matter.
But anyway, that's part and parcel of the way that this goes. I'm not sure if it's just part of the course design or just how any of these things are. We do see it a lot in UK racing as well, where things will bunch up, so it's a fight to get to the first pinch point. But I think the sheer volume of riders that you have on this race just exacerbates that issue. Again, going into some nice single track here, just traversing this camber along like an edge the whole way. We're sort of running up with either fire road or road underneath, getting into another like hecker steep sort of kick. It's funny when you look at the elevation plots for these on the kind of side on map, the climbs never look that bad when you've got this huge descent coming, but they really do kick, they really do drag. They're way bigger than what the graphic seems to suggest, so it catches you out a bit. This turned into some kind of windy bit of single track that kind of went up and down for ages. It was really quite fun, actually. Nice woodsy riding the trees. You could be fooled into thinking this is like a UK bit of single track. It definitely reminds me of some of the Gorick Mountain Bike Club cross-country races, obviously with a lot more elevation, but it's the same sort of terrain, really. It's really cool today. I think I had entered the race thinking that maybe my form still wasn't going to be that great, and I got on the bike and felt pretty fantastic, actually. Carl had to rein me in a few times on a few of the climbs for kind of starting to kick a little bit hard and remind us that we've still actually got like a really long day and quite a lot to do, so maybe don't burn all those matches in the first half hour. Getting some real flow on this descent and just having a bit of fun with it, really. It's definitely got that kind of twisty UK sort of thing. Straight into a really early feed zone, which means really we're at the top of the first descent, so I guess really it's just a tech zone for most people, or if they're running very light on water, it's a chance to restock, but we decided to bang straight through that. But yeah, just flying straight out the back of that feed zone. And here we're onto this hard sort of ground, and there's absolutely no reason just not to rip through this pack. I think we can see really that me and Carl are definitely feeling like we're on quite good form today. So like, cool, yeah, let's make up some time. We're both very aware that water stop is at the top of the descent, so if we can make up a few places here, it's well worth it, and we will have loads of time to recover. Still a couple of little features on that just to be wary of. I imagine probably some people got a bit caught up on some of that on the way through, and this is definitely running really fast, but putting in a few efforts here just to really try and rip through some of these riders, just in case you've got some people that aren't the best descenders, so that we can try and have a really good run, because this is a huge descent. We're doing over 1,000 meters of descent here, which is again mega, way more than we can really train for in the UK. And again, because it's Andorra, you really don't know exactly what terrain it's going to be, so pushing ourselves to the crest of that one, pipping off a good 20 or so riders, which is a strong way to enter that section. because we knew that some of these climbing punches were a bit shorter as well, we could kind of go for them a bit more. We didn't have to worry so much about that long slog. We kind of got that over with in the first 20 minutes. So we had an ability really to go, okay, there's a bit of a kick, let's just go for it, let's push into that, and obviously just check in with each other. I think by day 4, as race partners, we'd started to work out a lot more what we had to do to communicate with each other and gauge our efforts and who to put out front for sections. I would do quite a bit of course reading on some of this stuff just to guide through, but on some of the steeper bits, Carl seemed pretty confident at just sending a few lines and maybe I'd follow him. In terms of setting a pace, I would often try and push on a hill climb, but I realised I had to just check in on Carl, make sure that he was still with me. I could back off and kind of meter that to suit really. And then now we can see the bit that we've climbed up. There's still riders coming through, and we're a good 15 minutes or so since we were on that bit on the left climbing up where we were pushing to get to this single track. So we're making good time. We're riding really, really well. I think we're both quite excited because we feel like we're ripping through a pack and things are going really well for us on this day. So just again, we're totally at home with these sort of conditions. It's just absolutely UK single track style. These guys jumping off, not sure why, but happy for them to let us out of the way. We can just make up a bit more time there again. Still a few little punches on this, but again, we can just explode up them a little bit. We know that this is just a mini kick on what is otherwise a long descent, so just putting in a few hard power like 400 or 500 watt sort of punches just to crest over things is no issue at all at this point. And we're just flying down through the single track. It's just super comfortable for us, and we'd happily sit in the pocket with that all day. And then absolute disaster, super stressful. So Carl had a soft back tyre. We had a look, had a great big hole in it. It was a complete catastrophe trying to plug that. But we got that sorted out fairly rapidly, but basically watched the whole pack that we'd overtaken kind of come past us. So we just set ourselves back for this massive descent, unfortunately.
You go in front of me because I'll need to stop if you're in trouble, so...
Now comes the paranoia, where at this point the tyre's been plugged, so that was really quite stressful. We obviously pulled up, got the kit out. Carl had a problem with, first off we tried putting it up with just CO2 and it was just blasting sealant out the side. So then we got the plug kit out. Carl had a problem with his plug kit. We had to get my plug kit out. We got the tyre plugged up, but it's in the sidewall as you saw in the picture, which isn't the best place to have to put a tyre plug into. We got that sorted out, obviously aired the tyre up, and then had to pack the stuff down, and we were just hoping. So we put his tyre up pretty rock hard. We're normally running 17 or 18 PSI in our tyres, which sounds fairly low, but that's actually pretty sensible really for like recon and Aspens on this sort of terrain. And we must have put him up to roughly around 30 on the back, because we figured if we were going to have to blast a few CO2 shots into it throughout the day, we only had so many we could use, and we would rather go for longer. So if he had to have a slightly skittish back tyre, that would be a sensible way of managing that rather than stopping more often, which would be worse. But now, yeah, absolute paranoia. I'm just glued to his back tyre, just looking at it. Rather than actually riding properly, and just trying to see if it looks like it's going soft, making sure he's checking in on what's going on. You've obviously got a huge advantage with these bikes. We're both running RockShox flight attendant suspension, but also because the suspension's adapting, if you're bouncing on the bike on the flat, sometimes it's in lock, firm or open, so even the way that you're bouncing on the bike is going to change. So Carl feeling exactly what his tyre is doing is slightly masked by the bike actually adapting to the terrain as well. But as it happened, we're descending down it and the tyre seems absolutely fine. Unfortunately, don't have much footage of the time around when it was going on, because trust me, looking at a camera was probably the least important thing that was going on, because I was super worried about plugging a sidewall and whether a tyre plug was going to hold or whether we were going to have a serious problem, to be honest. but we're still descending down the T section of the day, La Comabella, which was just this monster thing. I think some of this looks quite steep on camera for cross-country marathon, and it certainly was at the time. Some of this really felt reasonably spicy. It's not huge technical features in terms of rocks, jumps, logs, all of that, but it is steep, and there are lots of sniper routes in there, and it's quite loose, bit loamy. So we're just kind of gradually working our way down. But of course, what's happened is all of those riders that we predicted were going to potentially be slower on the descents, we are now ripping through. As you can see from on the footage, we're just constantly catching up with packs and packs of riders. And if you looked at jerseys, I'm going to imagine they're probably the people that we dusted, like 20 or 30 people while we were up on the top. So unfortunately getting buffered back a little bit, but this was a little bit more open. Like, that was a perfect little passing opportunity. There's little fire road crossings. This was a course that was much more suited to being able to whip through some of that. You definitely got to watch it. That's really loose for Carl's back end of his bike there as he's going down. So it's a difficult descent, and we're just completely, he's obviously struggling with a slightly hard back tyre as well. And there's a guy having a pee there, very discreet. But yeah, we're mostly just descending and flying down this, worried about when his back tyre is going to be too soft to be able to ride. But as it happened, spoiler alert, we didn't actually have to put any air in that tyre at any point through the race. And when we got back to the vehicle to pack down, ready to travel back, the tyre was still solid. So fortunately that worked really well. So I think the next time we met up, Carl went out and bought exactly the same plug-in kit that I had in my kit, because it was perfect. Look how steep that is, and you can see we've got a heck of a long way to go down. So this is a very loose technical descent, and there's a section on the map for La Comabella that just looks like it goes vertical. I'm like, yes, that would be this one, because it is just super steep. I can see why riders are pushing down that. Chatting to some people in pits and on start lines and stuff, there were riders that were going out and doing this race with no dropper posts. And I said to them, I'm surprised you've got no dropper. And they said, oh, no, I prefer my bike that way. And I reckon some people must seriously be underestimating exactly what these courses are going to have, because some of this like proper kind of enduro tracks, and the steepness of it, I can't imagine really wanting to be hovered that high over the back of a bike. There is a certain riding style that accommodates that, but that's not really for me. So now bopping out towards the bottom of this, now we're just getting onto some road, and again we can afford to burn a couple of matches on that really, and just where we're slightly climbing before descending again, just put in some efforts, pass a few more riders, work the way through the pack. So frustratingly, we were having a really good day on day 4, and the tyre just set us back, not only in the time it was to fix it, but also in the way this happened with the descent. I wish I'd left the camera rolling for this whole section, because this is where we had some really difficult how would you call it, like just race tactics going on from other riders. You definitely had, there was some super steep rocky switchbacks, not this bend here, but like some really technical terrain, and we got into it, and again it's already happened now by the time we're on the road at the bottom. But there were riders forcibly blocking us from going through, telling us to not push in, but we're clipped in, riding on our bikes, and we're shouting that we'd like to come through, not angrily, we're just, can we pass? And they forcibly blocked us and told us to wait a turn while they pushed down some completely rideable technical features. And this happened quite a lot down a descent, and it was a tough descent, but I do feel like this race, they need to make sure that people realise that rider priority is to those that are riding a bike, not pushing down a hill. And likewise, if someone's climbing and you block them on a climb, you'd be pretty annoyed if you had to jump off on a climb because someone blocked you on a climb as well. So if you're pushing, you should really give way. Anyway, we've done another little push up a very steep little blast as we're following the river, and we know this is the river that's running back to La Massana Race Village, and at this point we've got a few miles to go and we can afford to push super hard because we don't have to ride for a few days now. We're just going to be sitting in the car driving all the way back to the UK from Andorra, so just riding super hard, making up any minutes we can because it's all based on overall race time rather than day placings, this race. And there we go, entering that final corner again. I think that's a pretty decent women's team there, and they're letting us through so they can have their photos without us in them. So we've gone flying through, and yeah, really excited to finally get to that finish line. You can see the welcome party in their little wheelie, and we're popping over the line. And there we go. There's our medals. There's photographers. And we're just both absolutely shredded, but super excited to be done. You can see Carl getting his medal there, and yeah, this crazy thing has just finished, and it's been wild even just watching it back to put the video together. The memories of the absolute hardship getting through this race.
And that was us finishing the Andorra Epic 2025. We've done it. And,
wait.
oh, yeah.
Picture later.
Everyone's buzzing down at the event village. Rightly so. And there we have it, everyone. That is Andorra Epic 2025. Absolute monster ride for the both of us. Really good fun. We'll put some thoughts in about all the riding we've done and what this all is when we're done. For now, it's time to go and relax and chill and get the car loaded up, ready for the journey back.
So that was Andorra Epic 2025, one of the most outrageous things I've ever had a chance to be involved in. It was great fun doing it with my good friend Carl, and I would happily do anything like that again. I just need to be back into physical shape to do it. Absolutely outrageous days, super grueling, super hard on ourselves, on our bikes, on everything, even logistically. It's just a lot to undertake an event like this. But if you're interested in doing one, drop us a line. We'll let you know more thoughts if you've got questions. There's the Strava plot. Last stage, 30 mile, bit over 3 hours, well, nearly 4 hours and 4,000 foot. So by no means an easy last day. Just a time for celebration and reflection at the end, and to look back at the amazing things that we've managed to achieve over that 4 days of riding that is unforgettably difficult and savage and all of the above. Less importantly, onto the results, but here they are anyway. Stage 1, we came in 32nd. Stage 2, 26th, really good. Stage 3, 32nd, and stage 4, 41st. So we started in 32nd and we finished 32nd overall in open men's. The one thing that we can take from it is I believe we're the fastest British team, which is really good. We were never expecting to do super good, but we're really happy to be sitting somewhere around mid-pack, and our times are really quite reasonable. It was 10:48 overall for the winning team in our class, and we were 15 hours 15 for ours. So we were basically a few hours off the fastest pace. If you look at the UCI men's results there, we've got them coming in at 9 hours and 9 minutes for the entire race. So that's the winning fastest team of the entire thing. You can really see on the longest stage, the Canelo one, where being an incredible climber is just going to have helped those teams so much, because if we're doing 5 hours and they're doing around 3 or 3:46, then yeah, we're that's where we're dropping. So that's what we need to work on now. While we've got you, it's a good time to say thank you to our sponsors, Projected Image Limited, who are a live event specialist operating mainly in the UK, and Hardline Brewery, who have low fat drinks that taste great. So by all means, get in contact with either of them. But the main stars, Macmillan Cancer Support, they touch the hearts of both of the companies that have sponsored us with this event, as well as ourselves. If you've got anything you'd like to donate to them, there will be a link in the comments. Just do whatever you can. If you've liked the video, if you hated the video, if it's informative, inspiring, or none of the above, please give them a little something. Anyway, that's enough from us. You'll be bored of hearing my voice at this point. So hopefully you're going to go do some cross-country racing abroad and absolutely love it. Let us know how you get on. Any questions, just leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.